It is a warm, pleasant November afternoon in Doha, Qatar. The temperature outside is 90 degrees Fahrenheit or 30 degrees Celsius, and it is slightly overcast. The city is slowly starting to fill up with international teams and fans in anticipation of the 2022 FIFA World Cup, which is due to start shortly on Sunday, the 20th of November. The local organizing committee is putting finishing touches on the various venues, which will host tournament activities over the next several weeks, and is getting ready to host the roughly 80,000 spectators to the opening game between the national teams of Qatar and Ecuador. The 2022 FIFA World Cup is a huge deal not only for Qatar, which has spared no expense in preparing for the event, or the 32 international teams competing in this tournament of a lifetime, and the millions of fans watching the games around the world. It is also a make-or-break competition for FIFA, the international body based in Zurich, which is in charge of staging all official international football competitions worldwide, including this one. Over the years, the Men's Football World Cup has become a truly one-of-the-kind, iconic blockbuster event, and one whose success or failure will determine what would happen to international football over the next 4-year period and beyond. So, will the 2022 Qatar World Cup be a success for FIFA, both sports-wise and economically? How much money does FIFA plan to make from the tournament, and where exactly will it come from? And most importantly, how critical will this income be to international football's future development, and what will it enable? Stay tuned as we explore these and other questions in this video. FIFA's budget for 2022 is set at $4.7 billion, of which $2.6 billion, or just over half, is planned to be earned from television broadcasting rights, $1.4 billion, or 30%, from the sale of marketing rights, $500 million, or 11%, from hospitality rights and ticket sales, and the remainder from other sources, such as the sale of FIFA's licensing rights. In comparison, FIFA's total income in the preceding 3 years totaled around $1.8 billion, but it was, of course, impacted by COVID in 2020. The 2022 World Cup will be broadcast in over 200 countries around the world. Most countries only have one official broadcaster, such as Bell Media in Canada, SBS in Australia, or SABC in South Africa. Some countries, however, will have several TV companies sharing the rights to televise World Cup games in their geography. For example, both Fox Sports and Telemundo have bought broadcasting rights in the US, BBC and ITV in the UK, TF1 and beIN Sports in France. All in all, the average broadcast right package works out to be somewhere between $10 and $15 million per country, which seems like a reasonable figure given the importance of the event. Interestingly, FIFA sometimes sells broadcasting rights in bundles, which cover a number of its competitions across several years, such as in the case of Fox Sports and Telemundo in the US. These two companies paid a total of about $1 billion for the opportunity to broadcast both the 2018 and 2022 Men's World Cups, as well as the 2019 and 2023 Women's World Cups, and a range of smaller international tournaments organized by FIFA. In theory, selling bundled deals is a good tactic for FIFA because broadcasters have to buy not only the hugely anticipated Men's World Cup rights, but also those for other, much less popular events. In terms of FIFA's marketing rights revenue, the World Cup will have 7 official partners, including Adidas, Coca-Cola, Wanda Group, Hyundai and Kia, Qatar Airways, Qatar Energy, and Visa. In exchange for giving money to FIFA, these companies get a privileged set of marketing products, including their ability to combine their own logo with those of FIFA and the Qatar World Cup, exposure around the tournament stadiums and in FIFA's official publications, as well as preferential access to broadcast advertising. All of these products can help not only enhance brand recognition around the world, but also, in theory, create positive emotional associations for football fans with the company's brands going forward. Ticket sales and hospitality are planned to be earned over a total of 64 games during the tournament, including 48 group stage matches and 16 elimination stage games. All of the teams in the competition are divided into 8 groups of 4 teams, which means 2 games per group, per match day, or 6 games per group for the duration of the group stage of the tournament. Elimination stage matches include 8 octofinals, 4 quarterfinals, 2 semifinals, a third-place game, and of course, the final. Doing some simple math, the $500 million hospitality and ticket sales budget, split across 64 games, equals about $8 million per game of expected income for FIFA. The 2022 World Cup will use a total of 8 stadiums for the tournament, with a capacity ranging between 40 and 80,000 seats, with the average capacity working out to be around 50,000. This then works out to about $150 per seat per game, in terms of both the ticket cost and additional hospitality income from the sale of food and drinks in various arenas. So now that we better understand where the money from the 2022 FIFA World Cup will come from, we can turn to how FIFA plans to use the proceeds. Interestingly, FIFA is only planning to spend a total of around $1.7 billion on organizing the Qatar World Cup itself, or only about a third of its total income. So where will the rest of the money go? And is it questionable that FIFA will effectively have a 65% profit margin on this tournament, which in theory could imply that the broadcasters, marketing partners, and spectators are potentially overpaying for being a part of this event? Let's first look at the $1.7 billion budget for the tournament itself. Of this total amount, $440 million, or 26%, will be spent on prize money to be allocated among the 32 participating teams, proportional to how far they go in the competition. A further $322 million is planned to be spent to cover the World Cup's operating expenses, including event transportation, ticketing operations, competition management, insurance, referee services, and other costs. $247 million will be spent on TV operations to create the live and replayed content, which would then be streamed all around the world in services of FIFA's broadcast agreements. Interestingly, the 2022 budget also has $209 million allocated to something called the Club Benefits Program. This program is basically the rent money that FIFA pays to football clubs around the world, whose players were selected to participate in the World Cup by their respective national federations. An example, during the 2018 World Cup in Russia, FIFA paid $8,530 per player per day to the clubs, so they too could benefit from the success of the competition, as per its financial report for that year. The rest of the tournament budget includes $207 million for workforce management, $1,017 million for team services, $49 million for communication technology, $33 million for marketing rights delivery, and $72 million for other World Cup items. Perhaps unsurprisingly, this total tournament budget of $1.7 billion is roughly the same as what FIFA spent on the previous World Cup in Russia, with similar allocation across the different expense categories. Now, after accounting for all of these expenses necessary to run the tournament, FIFA still expects to have a generous sum of around $3 billion left over. To put it in perspective, this amount of money could be enough to stage 2 more World Cups of similar size, without having to raise more money from either the broadcast or marketing partners, while also making all the game tickets free and providing each spectator with a complimentary meal while they are at the stadium. So where does the rest of the money go? Well, this is where the non-financial, developmental part of FIFA's mission comes in. According to its official budget for 2022, the organization is planning to allocate around $700 million of that leftover profit to its football development program and education programs in 2022. The biggest one of these is something called the Forward Program, for which FIFA is allocating $544 million. This budget will be split among the 211 national member federations, as well as the 6 international confederations and various regional and zonal unions. Recipients can use the money to build new stadiums and training grounds, organize international competitions, particularly at youth level, and even finance travel and accommodation costs in the case of smaller federations. Outside of the Forward program, FIFA is also financing a number of other developmental activities, including the FIFA Foundation, which aids in the recovery and reconstruction of damaged or destroyed sports infrastructure around the world. In addition, FIFA is actively investing in development of women's football, having famously pledged to invest $1 billion into the program over a 4-year period. The rest of the 2022 budget is spread across all the other FIFA activities, including organizing smaller tournaments, running the FIFA World Football Museum, buying and upgrading equipment, paying personnel, renting and upkeeping its offices, and paying for legal, marketing, and commercial services. After paying for all of these programs as well as taxes, FIFA is likely to have about $1 billion of pure profit left over, which will be used to replenish its long-term savings account. These long-term reserves will be used in 2 ways in the future, contributing to the development programs in the 3 years before the next World Cup, when FIFA is likely to make a loss in the absence of all the money that comes from its main tournament, and earning some additional income from investing this money into various financial instruments. All in all, FIFA is a fascinating international organization to study, which has figured out an ingenious way to not only make money for its member federations, but also use the money to stimulate long-term development of the game of football internationally. Of course, the primary challenge for FIFA's business model at the moment is its reliance on the one blockbuster product, the Men's World Cup. If FIFA somehow manages to create additional comparable income streams, whether through growing the popularity of the Women's World Cup, esports, or regional and youth tournaments, international football development can truly go into overdrive. However, this will, of course, take decades, same as it did for the Men's World Cup, which has been patiently and methodically growing its reach and appeal over the century or so that it has been in existence. In the meantime, FIFA needs to ensure that the latest edition of the tournament in Qatar runs smoothly, and both the teams and fans enjoy the best of what Middle East has to offer. And so, the final countdown to the first game of the tournament continues.